How is everybody doing today? It is the Chase Carter Concept, but it's a Concept podcast for August 25th, Tuesday. Let's get into the news. You ready? Okay, because I'm not too sure what I'm going to talk about today. A few things. First 20 minutes or so, I'm going to try to have to break it down 3 segments. First 20 minutes is going to be about basketball. The second 20 minutes, I think I want to talk about the shooting that happened, and then the last 20 minutes, video games, silly news, blah, 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 blah. So, I just want to say about basketball. I'm very excited about the NBA playoffs that's going on today. Game 5 is tonight versus the LA Clippers and Dallas Mavericks. And then we have another game. I think it's Utah and Denver. If I'm not mistaken. Hold on one second. Give me a second here, okay? Give me a second here. I didn't have ESPN popped up, and what's annoying is that when you pop up top events on ESPN.com, the WNBA stats show up first. Stop trying to get me to watch the worst sport that you have. Stop it. Yeah, Jazz Nuggets tonight. Nuggets. That's a funny story just by the way that word is said, but or the way that word is spelled. Got somebody in a lot of trouble. Fired, actually. He accidentally says a racist comment. This guy trying to type in nuggets, and I guess it autocorrect to the N-word for some reason, which lets you know that he types in that word a lot. Because I tried it on my phone. Maybe Apple phones are different. I don't know. I have an Android. I just typed in N-I-G-G and didn't autocorrect to anything. So in what world did he type in N-U-G-G and it autocorrected to the N-word? That is a comedy sketch, if I ever heard one. But if he said accidentally did this, he gets fired. But Montrezl Harrell, he just gets a talking to. It's okay. He's allowed. It's fine. Pardon me. But yeah, so Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic. He'll step back and hit a 3 in your head. Oh, unbelievable. The first time I've screamed out, I've never wanted a player, besides Michael Jordan, to win so badly. I wanted Kevin Garnett to win real bad. I want Chris Paul to win now. But I don't think he's going to, unless he's a role player on a team after this contract is up, because he gets paid $40-something million. But yeah, I think those are the only two guys I saw and was like, they need a championship. And then after LeBron, before he won his first in Miami, but it was difficult because that's when the Bulls were good, and I'm like, I don't want him to win anything. But after Derrick Rose got injured, it's like, LeBron, go win your championship. You're great. You deserve a championship. You work hard. You deserve a championship. You're one of the greats. You need to have a few. You need to have a few to cement your legacy as one of the top guys. Not the top, though. Not the top. As a Bulls fan, I'm not letting it. As long as I live. Jordan's better. Period. And who knows, after a while, Luka may be better. He's doing things no other 20-year-old has done. 21-year-old has done. I mean, he just started drinking in the United States. Of course, overseas, where he's from, he was probably drinking when he was 12. But, oh my goodness. So, for people who don't know too much about the NBA, which out of the 10 people here, that listen to this podcast on a weekly basis, Luka Doncic, he plays for the Dallas Mavericks. He was just, going about his business, and people get these two. There was an incident where Montrezl Harrell scored twice. Montrezl Harrell is a black player that plays for the LA Clippers, and Luka Doncic is a white player. Now, I'm about to tell you something. A racial event happened. And in your head, you would think, what did Luka say to Montrezl Harrell? No. It was racism the other way. But according to Kenny Smith, racism can only exist if one person has power over the other. And that's not what racism means. That's not what racism means at all. But anyways, that's not what the Webster's dictionary definition of it. But Webster, I'm assuming, he's white, so he could be part of the whole systemic racism thing. He could be a part of it. But Luka Doncic was called a bitch-ass white boy. Montrezl Harrell had 2 possessions where he grabbed an offensive rebound or got a pass, and he dug his shoulder into Luka's chest to, like, it's a normal basketball play, to get space, to, like, bump him and then go up and make the layup. And I think he made a second one, and then backtrotting, he called him a bitch-ass white boy. And at the time, I was like, hey, how is that any kind of fairness? And because it was caught on camera, it became a news story. And then later in the game, they got tied up, and Luka gave him a little forearm shove, and then Montrezl Harrell, I think they tripped over each other's foot, and Montrezl Harrell went down, and Luka said, stop flopping, big man. Didn't bring up his race at all. Interesting. I wonder why Montrezl Harrell brought up because you're trying to intimidate somebody and play basketball. Now, many people were interviewed, a lot of former black players, I wouldn't say a lot, a very small few former black players said what Harrell did was absolutely wrong. End of discussion. They said they always it's so funny. They always say, well, he did something wrong. Yeah, he did that wrong. He shouldn't have done it. But we all say things in the heat of moment, in the heat of competition. And in my head, I'm thinking, you can't use that excuse. Because that's what, on the court, in between the lines, it's not a war zone. Now, it might feel like a war zone to these guys because they always say, if I ever need that foxhole kind of player. No. War is a life or death thing. You guys are going home to your wife, your kids, and your 3 other girlfriends that you have. It's not war. You're driving home in Lambos. I don't even know if that's the right term for Lamborghini. I don't even know if that's the same car. Not a car guy. In your Porsches, in your Maseratis. And you're going to make these analogies or references to war. You're not in war. The closest people that could say war are UFC fighters. Because they're putting their lives on the line. One punch could do irreparable damage. And somehow they all seem fine. But in like 50 years or 100 years from now, I want to see the progression of these guys. I don't think they're as bad as boxers because boxers there's some kind of weird science I heard that the gloves actually are worse. Like being hit by a punch and just one punch and being knocked out is less damaging than taking like 10 or 20 just medium punches. Like your brain's just better off getting hit once, shutting down, and then recouping after that. And it's going to be interesting to see that since we're tracking all of these fighters now with modern medicine, back then they didn't. In 1912, they didn't care about these boxers getting hit. And they definitely didn't do any medical studies on them. But, so Luka was called a bitch-ass white boy. He didn't take any offense to it. He didn't say anything, but other people brought it up. And I brought it up as soon as I saw it. I'm like, well, that's kind of hypocritical. I was like, I wonder what the takes are going to be from certain media members. And like all the white media members that I've seen haven't said anything about it. They didn't bring it up. It was black people that did it because maybe the white people are maybe afraid to say something about race because they can lose their job if they say like anything can be misconstrued as racist, and then they're going to lose their job. Yet Montrezl Harrell didn't lose his job. He shouldn't lose his job. I don't know if he should be. I don't think he should be suspended. I think maybe a fine, but even that's weird because I come from playing extremely low levels of basketball, and I've been called all sorts of names, including names that have to do with my race. I've been called the N-word before, different homophobic slurs. I've been called pretty much everything, and I take that as a compliment in a weird way, because that means I'm doing something. I mean, I'm doing good to the point where it's annoying you, and you have to lash out at me to try to get into my head. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not going to talk, from my perspective, I'm not going to talk trash to someone who doesn't matter. I'm going to talk trash to maybe the best guy or second best guy to get his mind where I want it, so then he's not concentrating on the things that he needs to do. And sometimes that backfires, because some people, if they're normally quiet, or if they miss a few shots, then you start yapping in their head, and then they start to try to do things that they're not good at. They try to drive more. They try to play a harder defense, and you have to play team defense. So there's all these little tricks to try to intimidate people. But at this level, like this, I'm not talking about like street basketball, like on a YMCA court. I guess you can say anything's, but this is where you work, though. This is your job. You get paid millions of dollars. You have sponsorships and all of that. And then the counter argument is, if Luka would have said anything about Harrell's race at all in an insult, then he would have been suspended. There would have been movements to have Luka removed from the NBA to apologize. And so it's real weird that you could use granted, white people don't care if you call them white boy. They don't care. So there's that weight. If you say something about somebody's race here in America and they're black, it carries more weight to it. But if you're going for equality treatment from everybody, you have to do it both ways. Right? That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. It's a weird thing, because you can call me cracker, honky, whatever, and it's not going to offend me in any way. You can call me the N-word. I've been called that. I got called the N-word by an Asian basketball player, which was really weird. That's a whole other separate story. When I came down 2 possessions later and hit the game-winning shot, bang, told him to get the F off the court. That was at VVC. Community college I went to. I miss playing basketball. But yeah, so I don't get the Kenny Smith. Yeah, Kenny Smith said that, and Charles was trying to talk about a double standard on TNT broadcast, and Shaq just cut him off, how he always does. He just gets real loud and yell instead of actually having a conversation, an intelligent conversation, a more in-depth discussion about what happened. Shaq just goes, no. We all play the game. We all play the game. We know what's being said. Not that big of a deal. It's not the same. I was like, well, if you want equality, it goes both ways, right? Granted, it does not carry as much weight. And Luka didn't even care. He's from a different country. He doesn't know, like, well, I'm assuming, well, if he's LeBron James, he doesn't know the history. I don't know the history of that culture, so I'm not going to make a comment. What, Chinese people make my shoes? First cents on the... Oh, okay. I don't want to comment about that, but keep making my shoes. But so it's real weird. Like he's not a part. I don't know. It's just it's a weird dynamic. A black American player called a European player a white boy, bitch ass white boy, insulting him, and then Montrezl Harrell the next game apologized, and then that's when Luka Doncic hit the game-winning shot, step back that I was so hoping he would hit. Racially, that was, for me, because it's really difficult to find an average white player. Just an average white player. Because you want to identify with the people that you're seeing. And that's why, like, Tiger Woods was so empowering, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Jackie Robinson, all of these players, because they were, well, I wouldn't say Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan were the minority, because NBA was mostly black by then. But like Jackie Robinson, like, black kids saw that and said, I can do that. That's possible. He's doing that. And then they see themselves. They can't relate to the all-white baseball league that was back then. So now 74% of the NBA right now is black. And there are no great white basketball players. None. The only one we had was Larry Bird. That's it. There's no other great ones. No other great dominant white basketball players. And now we have Luka, who seems as a 21-year-old. I'm like, you know what? That's kind of cool. Before we were just, hey, stand in the corner and shoot. Run off these screens and shoot. Like even Kristaps Porzingis, he's a good white player. I mean, he's not even from America. The best American-born white players I can think of, J.J. Redick, he's a shooter, and Gordon Hayward. And he was getting good, and then he got injured. But he wasn't great. He was the main guy on the Utah Jazz. He was good I can't even say he was good at Boston because right when he got to the team, a few minutes later, his foot broke off. So, but as far as a great player, we don't have one American-born. Larry Bird's the only one. So we're in the weird way, we're the minority. And so if you want to kind of make an argument, I don't know if this makes sense, but when Kenny Smith said racism is about power. So a power, you have to be the majority to have power, I would assume. The majority of power. So Montrezl Harrell is black, so he's the majority. And he's talking down to a minority, a white player, in his mostly black NBA world, talking shit to him and using his race against him. So wouldn't that be racism? Granted, he's not like the owner. He can't stop Luka from playing. He can't hold him out of the NBA. He didn't stop him from hitting the step back on him. So part of me is seeing this double standard that the black players are using, or not using, but expressing in this silly basketball game. It doesn't matter. This double standard doesn't matter. The real double standard is this double standard that white people have in society where things actually matter. But but it shows up like just how racism, white people towards anything or Mexicans towards anything shows up in these weird little ways. And then it bleeds into other forms of whatever. It's just real interesting to see everyone kind of backtrack. Oh, Montrezl Harrell said something wrong. Yeah, but this is the way we talk on the court. It's fine. Matt Barnes said anything goes. You can talk about. He said you can talk about wives, girlfriends, children, and I'm like, whoa, what kind of heartless? No, not everyone thinks like that. And just because you did it doesn't make it right. That's like I used an analogy, or I thought of an analogy. That's like how when women, they weren't allowed in the clubhouse in baseball because they didn't want to mess up the boys' clubhouse. We can't act the same when women are here. Or if you're here, you know how it's going to be. It's like, well, no, you should be like an all-encompassing environment because you're a professional baseball player. Like a woman shouldn't have limits. If she wants to be a baseball reporter, she can be a baseball reporter. She should be able to go into the locker rooms and not be bombarded with, stupid, immature guy shit that we do when we're around each other. Like it's a place of business. You're not playing in a softball league, out in the middle of a field. No, you're playing. People are interested in what you're doing, and the reason that you're getting paid millions of dollars is because people are interested in what you do. It's a profession. You're doing it at the highest level, and people want access, and that includes women. So those kind of arguments never really sat well with me. It was like, oh, well, this is the way it is. Well, that's the way the racist white people were talking about black people and everything. Well, why are you treating black people? Well, this is the way my grandfather did. It's the way it is. It's what we do here. I mean, and then little by little, it's like, oh yeah, we can go to schools together with them and play sports, integrated sports. But then when we go home, we stay separate. We're two separate people in the cultures. And I'm like, no, you want to blend the cultures because then you get a mix of the best parts of each culture. You learn things from other cultures, good and bad. You'd be like, you do what? You cook what? Like what? Nah, that's disgusting. No. And then you get a recipe. You're like, I've never had that before. Those are the good things. So it doesn't. I don't get that excuse, because you can use well, that's the way it is. That's the way we do things here. You can use that in a negative way to everything that's happened in human history, to keep something that's bad or a negative mindset. Now, should you not be able, you shouldn't be able to use, I don't think, homophobic slurs, and this is coming from a kid who grew up in the 90s who said gay and faggot all the time. And I realize it's wrong and hurtful. And that's my upbringing. That's my challenge to deal with. And my mom, she grew up with parents, her friends, everyone saying the N-word all the time. And she's like, well, that's just the way they talked. It's the same thing. Oh, that's just the way they talked. I'm like, what? No, that's wrong. She's like, well, I didn't see anything wrong, because that's her environment. And that's these basketball players' environment. It's okay to call someone a bitch-ass white boy. It's okay. Now, if you're using white boy in a positive light, you can kind of get away with it, but still, you shouldn't be, identifying someone by their race. You wouldn't want anyone who's like, yeah, that black guy, he can really play basketball. Well, why can't he just be a basketball player? Why does he have to be black? Same thing goes for any color. Jeremy Lin, yeah, that Asian guy can play. Why does he got to be? That guy can play basketball. He can play basketball. And then if someone says he can play basketball, it's like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, is he short? Is he tall? Oh, no, it's because he's Asian. He can't play because he's, It's the same thing. I've dealt with racism on the basketball court. Every other part of my life has been amazing because I'm white. I'm 6'1" white guy. I've had no other racial issues. Now, if I go into the hood, if I go into a bad neighborhood where it's predominantly Mexican or predominantly black by myself, I'm going to have a different, outlook or feeling. And then that's the way I think other minorities feel. Like when you're outnumbered by people who look like you, but then I feel uncomfortable around rich white people. I go to rich white people's houses, and I don't like being in a big house. It makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel like it's not me. So I don't know. It's just a weird thought exercise. So that'll be all I talk about basketball today. It's all about race. And then really it's all about race anyway. Because this next subject is about the Jacob Blake shooting and what's happened so far with it. And I did 15, 20 minutes of research. And it's just real weird. Another really short clip of a black guy getting shot by police. Now, granted, I don't understand. First of all, police officers, I don't get it, because I've heard stories of people, like there was a UFC fighter, and this guy broke into his house, and he's a lightweight UFC fighter. He was ranked I think in the top 10, and this guy who broke in was on some kind of drug, and he said he had superhuman ability. He said it was the hardest fight he's ever been in his life. He's like, he hit this guy with everything he could, and the guy just kept coming. So when these cops are dealing with people on drugs, I'm not saying they can out muscle, because they don't have to deal with pain or any of those sorts of things. So one cop usually cannot subdue another person, especially if that person's bigger. So if you've never been in a physical altercation where you have to completely subdue somebody, and then you have to do it in a way that they're safe, that you're safe and they're safe, is ridiculous. Now there's rumors. I'm not going to say any rumor. There's rumors. He had this, he had that. It doesn't matter. I don't know if you should shoot somebody in the back, but nobody has that cop's point of view, and it hasn't came out that this guy had a weapon or was reaching for a weapon. But you can't. There's new video that came out today, on Tuesday, that the cops did try to take him to the ground. They were telling him to get down. He wasn't getting down. He threw a cop off of him. First of all, these police officers need to get better training as far as how to subdue somebody. Wrap up a leg. Now, I don't know if he had there's reports from an eyewitness saying the cops told him to put down the knife. Put down the knife, put down the knife. The cops could be using that as an excuse, whatever. I have no idea. It's like, what was that? I can't remember. It's the South Park episode where the hunters, they couldn't kill any animals unless the animals posed a threat. So before they shot a helpless animal just standing there, they would yell, "It's coming straight for us!" And then they'd shoot the animal, bag it up, and hunt it. There was a way around it. So maybe the cops are using he had a weapon, but if it comes out that he had a weapon, is it a justified shooting then? If he has a knife and he's wheeling around, he's resisting arrest? And I've seen Stephen A. Smith brought up there was a white guy who shot 9 black people in a church, and there's a manhunt for him, and he was arrested, and then he was taken to McDonald's after being, which cops do. I've heard multiple accounts, even of all races, stopping and getting something to eat for the people in the back. Multiple times. So that's not you're assuming that's a race thing. And 2, if someone peacefully turns themselves in, or they won't shoot you. Usually. And I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna say that because I can't remember the story. There's some white guy who was shot. He had his hands behind his head in like a hotel hallway, and I can't really remember. He was backing up and some cop shot him. There's mistakes that happen. It's terrible. And they should be held accountable for it. But if you're resisting arrest, you physically assault a police officer. By the way, this guy had a warrant out for his arrest for violent acts. It was a sexual offense and domestic violence. So he's a violent person. I read somewhere also, and this could all be BS. This could all be propaganda. That he was arrested. Cops approached him at a bar and he had a gun on him, and they didn't shoot him then. So it's just real interesting. If police officers are telling you to get on the ground, you just get on the ground. You get on the ground, you get arrested, and you deal with it later. Now, did this guy want to run away because he had a warrant out for his arrest and he'd go to jail? Probably. Yeah. So then if you run away from the cops and then you go inside a car, they can't see what you're doing, and they shoot you, that's what happens. If I'm the cop saying keep your hands on the steering wheel, and I go, well, I got some in the glove compartment, no, keep your hands on the steering wheel. No, I got this. No, you just listen to them. Now, if you listen, and they put like how George Floyd was, he was handcuffed on the ground. Yes, that officer should go to jail for the rest of his life. He's a piece of shit. Even with him resisting, you're on the ground, you're handcuffed. Don't put your knee on his back like that. You try to do it in the nicest way possible. But if someone is not restrained and they're going into their car and they have their hands free, they could kill you. So the general media is saying that criminals, people with warrants out for their arrest, in order to shoot at them, you have to wait for them to come out of the car with a gun, point the gun at you, make sure it's a real gun, and then shoot at you. And then maybe even to a crazy extent, because what if they're blanks? What if they're blank? You have to actually pull the bullet out of your body and examine it. Go, that's a real bullet, guys. Return fire. Like what? What are we doing here? If I reach into a glove compartment or any place where the cop says don't, after throwing him off of me, I'm going to get shot. My actions have led to the outcome. Not the cops. The cops are doing their job. If a cop rolls up on, say you're at a party. Hypothetically, I don't know if this is actually going to make sense or make me look like an asshole here. But if I'm at a party, if I'm at a barbecue, and the cops just come by and just make sure everything's good, which is their job, make sure everything's fine. We're not dealing drugs. We're not doing anything. We're just making sure. Because that's why cops go up to places. They're like, okay, this is a little gathering. Let's see if anything's going on. Okay, no, okay. They usually keep moving. But then they see somebody and they're like, hey, isn't that guy? Don't we have like an arrest warrant out for that guy? Or we ran these plates of this SUV. The owner. Here, can you point him out to me? And I'm like, I don't want to be a snitch, so what? I don't know who that car is. But somehow they find him. Some other white person snitches. You're like, do you know the owner of a black blah 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 SUV? I'm like, that guy. And they go up to him, and he has an arrest warrant out for arrest. They're gonna arrest him. Especially if it's for parking tickets. You can get arrested. You can have a warrant out for your arrest for parking tickets. And people have probably lost their lives fighting against that. It's like, just go to jail. Just go to jail and pay a fine. You have the parking tickets. You assaulted people sexually and whatever, domestically. So what is now? If you want to say that the system is making all that stuff up, that's a whole other issue. That's something I don't know about. That's the criminal justice. I don't know about really any of this stuff, but that's the criminal justice system. I don't know about them falsifying evidence and all that. That's a whole other issue. And I don't know how terrible that is either. But just going off of what is the evidence that's in front of me, that's not unjustified. And I'm not a police officer. They have to make decisions in a split second. Every second of their day they could die. And they signed up for it. But that shouldn't also be held against them. They should be able to protect themselves. If someone is not listening, throwing them off of their own person, like throwing them off of themselves, throwing these little cops around, and then get down. He walks around the car. Get down. They have their guns drawn. This guy is casually walking around the car while guns are pointed at him. Just imagine the mindset of that person. One, he'd have to be a boss. Just he's been in this situation before. He's like, you're not going to shoot, little white boy, bitch ass white boy. You're not going to shoot, whatever. And just calmly walks around the car. You're not going to shoot me in this environment. What I'm going to be another black guy you shoot in the back. Blah blah blah. That might be his mindset as he casually walks around. Or he's on drugs, and all this stuff doesn't register to him, and they completely act different. They don't act in a normal human way. If anyone points a gun at me and tells me to get down on the ground, I'm going to get down on the ground. If they're a police officer, I'm going to get down on the ground. If they're not a police officer, I'm going to be like, okay, can I duck behind something? Can I run? I'm in the open. I don't have any. Okay, I'll get down on the ground because that's my best option. Because I don't have any guns. I don't have a gun on me. So I don't get this outrage from an 8-minute or 8-second video where we didn't see the whole interaction. We just saw a white person shooting a black person and got upset. There's more variables to that story other than he's white, he's black. Now, if that black person would have turned around and shot the cop, are white people going to get all mad at criminals? No. They're going to be like, arrest that guy. Put him in jail. So I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it. And most of the shootings that there's all these different shootings that have happened that have been called justified. And at first they seem like, dude, what the hell's going on? It's like, oh, justified. This justified. That that justified. And it's just like, well, how come? Like there's parts of the story that media they don't cover, whether or not be like the person had a gun or made a quick movement. There'll be pieces left out of the story to like dictate the narrative of a white cop shooting an innocent unarmed black person. And it's just like you start to see through the bullshit and be like, oh, you're just promoting a narrative, an agenda. It's like the Democrats completely ignoring that Kamala Harris called Joe Biden a sex offender and racist running for when they were opposed to each other. And then her saying, oh, that's just politics. That's just a debate. It's like, no. You don't get to do that now that it benefits you. It's like, oh, you guys are all full of shit. Oh, okay. I just don't get... I get the outrage, but what I don't get is LeBron James saying that that black people are being hunted. We don't know. And they said if a white cop is having a bad day, what side of the bed he woke up on in the morning? What about the people, the civilians that are being shot? What about their choices? What about their moods? They do stuff to escalate the situation. If a cop gives you an order and you don't, apply. I can't even think of the right word right now. If you don't listen to them, good job, Chase. Yeah, I'm stupid. If you don't listen to them, they're going to be like, okay, this guy's a hostile person. He's not in his right mind. This is danger. So they're going to put their hand on their gun because that's how they protect themselves, as they should. I don't want police officers not having guns because then no criminal is going to take them seriously. They're going to treat them like mall cops. So I don't know what the answer is. I heard some guy say that cops with guns should be insured, which is another way a whole bunch of lawyers can make money. So if they shoot a black person, or if they shoot somebody, if they make a mistake with their gun, then they would be held accountable. Then they could lose their job, which makes sense. But then you're asking a human being who's not perfect to be perfect. And I don't know if you can do that. It doesn't matter who they shoot. I don't know. Because if I hear a story, a cop shot a white person, my immediate action is, what did the white person do? Black cop shoots white guy. I'm like, was the white guy on drugs? Oh, you're being insensitive. That's not the point. What did this white piece of shit do? Did he have a rap sheet, a record? No, he was just walking away. Well, what do you mean, like walking away? Like he was just walking down the street and the cops pulled up and shot him instantly? Well, no, they tried to arrest him. He resisted arrest. He threw the cop off of him. The cops had their guns pointed at this white guy. And then the white guy walked around his car, got into his car. Oh, don't reach into the car. Don't reach into the car. He reaches into the car and then they shot him. Oh, okay. That means that there could have been something in that car. Like, what was he reaching for? Or what was he getting in the car for? To drive away? Now you have a high-speed chase with children in the back. So, I've never been a police officer, but I understand. I understand a little bit the dilemma that they're in on a daily basis. That's why I keep my hands on the steering wheel to keep them calm. If I reach for I have my license and registration ready before they even come up to the car. So I'm not fiddling in a compartment that they can't see. Because I know they deal with the worst of the worst people on a daily basis. They drive by, like, what percentage of people want to kill the cops that they drive by? They just look at cops and hate them. Those are called criminals, by the way. Usually no 100% law-abiding citizen hates police officers. We're like, oh yeah, we need those guys. Because they're the only guys that are standing in between us law-abiding citizens, us taxpayers, and criminals who are selling drugs that are killing children. You know what I mean? That result in that. You can go to Mexico and see the cartel and all the damage they do. Talk about a corrupt I'm watching Narcos. You can see a corrupt system there. I don't know. It's just nuts. So talk about that for 20 minutes. Now, next 20 minutes is going to be just random news stories that I found interesting. Can't wait for that Nuggets Jazz game. Yeah, so the Charlotte Hornets broadcaster uses N-word in tweet. That was he's like, can't wait for this Jazz N-word game. And then the rest of it was like positive for both teams. The rest of the tweet was positive. I'm like, what did you, dude? What are you doing? I want to talk about. I played Battletoads with my girlfriend because if you played Battletoads, if you played Act 1, you get a custom frog-themed cosmetic set for Sea of Thieves. So we play Act 1, and I'm thinking Act 1 is going to be a level or two. It is 7 levels of nonsense. It's a beat-em-up game. We kind of had fun playing it, but the only fun thing that came out of it was dialogue between me and her because of us trying to get past these levels, getting frustrated because she's not very good at video games. And to revive your teammate, you have to hold the right bumper. Well, she thought the right bumper was the left, but she just knows it as LB and RB. And so I'm like, you have to stand over my body and hit RB. And for multiple levels, it wouldn't work. Multiple levels. And she's like, I don't know why it's not working. I was like, you have to hit RB. You have to hit RB. Why aren't you hitting RB? You're just standing there. You're not hitting RB. She said, I'm hitting RB. And she shows me the controller. She's holding down the left bumper. And I'm like, that's not the right bumper. That's not the right button. And she goes, sorry about that. And then there's another, in the game you can spit gum at your enemies. And they stick, and it's kind of like a freeze effect in the game. And you have to hold the left trigger and press A. And then kind of aim it towards the enemy's general direction. And shoot your gum at them. It's a silly game where you're where you're these toads and you're beating up different types of alien creatures and whatever. And so I'm spitting gum at the enemies. And I'm like, hey, you have to spit gum. You have to help out. I can't do all of this myself. You have to help out. And she's like, I'm spitting gum. I'm trying to spit gum. It's like, how do you do it? Press the left trigger and A. I'm pressing it. She shows me the controller. She's hitting X about 5 times. I'm like, that's not A. Then just, sorry. No, I meant this one. And then she hits another button. She hits B. Left trigger and B. And I'm like, look at your controller. Look at it. It has A, B, X, and Y. It's not difficult. So I did this little blind test. I was like, close your eyes. Close your eyes. And I'm going to call out buttons. I'm like A, X, Y, X, B, A. And she's pressing all these buttons. Everything's fine. A little slow. But granted, she hasn't played video games her whole life like I have. Granted, I haven't played Xbox my whole life. Just since high school. Or middle school. I think it came out in 2001. But I just don't. And she has problems with the bumpers. It's a huge delay on pressing the bumpers. Right bumper, RB, LB, RB, LB, RB, LB, RB, LB. And it was just that, it cracked me up. That she when I asked her about the right bumper, I'm like, you're not hitting the right bumper. She puts the controller about 6 inches from my face, holding the left bumper, and says, I'm holding the right bumper, see? And she kept pressing it. And I'm like, that's not the right button. So we had fun with that, but not because the game's interesting. It's a throwaway game. I don't know why Microsoft is making these throwaway games. It's like they're making games just to make games instead of making like genre-defying games. And it doesn't have online multiplayer. You could be up to 3. There's 3 Toad heroes. You can be all 3. If you play a single player game, you can switch between all 3 of them. They all have their separate life bars or whatever. And you can play up to 3 people. Couch co-op. What is it? There's no online multiplayer? Is this 2002? You make a co-op beat-em-up game that doesn't have online multiplayer? What are you doing? It's a meaningless game that I would never play ever, so it doesn't matter. But doesn't make any sense. It's the same issue I kind of have with the whole Halo fiasco, getting delayed. And then, oh yeah, ray tracing's not in this, but we're going to put it in a patch later. It's like, well, when you announced the system, ray tracing was the thing that you highlighted and said that's what this console can do that previous old consoles can't. So wouldn't you have that? Shouldn't you have that in your first party, the killer app, the game that is supposed to define your system for the next 10 years? Shouldn't you have that day one? It just, I don't know. It shows that not everything is kind of right. I'm not too sure. There's rumors that the old Xbox is holding it back because they're trying to design a game that's for the Xbox One and then the Xbox Series X. It's like, I don't know about video games. I don't know anything about video games. But this seems suspicious. This seems weird. And then the new NBA 2K21 came out, and nobody seems to like the demo. They said it's pretty much just the same. I haven't played it. But they say like a lot of the animations are just recycled. And I'm like, yeah, that's a sports game. The only thing they changed was they just changed the dribbling system, which people say is better. And then the shooting system is not good. I've yet to try it because I'm afraid if I load it up, because it's happened with one of the other 2Ks, I played the demo and I lost all of the VC from my previous account because I played a 2K. I'm going to try to see if it works. And I was like, I don't want to lose all my VC. I'm still playing 2K20. And if 2K21 is the same game pretty much, and people are saying, like, I'm not going to play 2K21 if it's the same game. Is my career any different? No, you just show me different cutscenes at the beginning. What's different about actually doing my career? Oh, nothing? Well, then I'm not going to play it. Can I ask to trade my own teammates? Because I can't do that right now. I want to get Duncan Robinson off my team. I don't need that guy at like the contract that they signed him at. Granted, it doesn't really matter. But I don't know. I'm at a crossroads in my video game life. No. It's kind of weird. So let's see what other interesting. There's an update on the UI on Xbox. It's supposed to run better. We'll see. Mike, this NHL announcer. NBC removed. Speaking of, this is a sexist thing. This is a white guy who got fired. By the way, fired from his job for saying insensitive. Let me get back to this little thought. If you think about it, it's about talking about hockey in their bubble. If you think about it, it's a terrific environment with regard to if you enjoy playing and enjoy being with your teammates for long periods of time, it's a perfect place. It's a perfect place. Not even any women here to disrupt your concentration. That was deemed as an insensitive, not because women are bad. It's because you guys are attractive and beautiful. And so if you're talking about it from a pure hockey stance, any outside distraction is terrible. What is the thing that has distracted men more in life or even motivated men to do stuff? Women! That's how amazing women are. We could have a goal to do something that we love and want to do, and we see a hot woman, and it's just this attractiveness, and we're just like, we have to have that. I have to, whatever I have to do. Lady, do you want a mansion? Do you like nice things? I'll work hard to do that. That's what our society is basically built on. It's old Dave Chappelle. Men don't have nice houses because they like nice houses, and men don't have nice cars because they like nice cars. They have nice cars. Men have nice cars because they know women like nice cars. It's a joke, and that has a kernel of truth to it. But this guy was removed and fired because he said in a bubble there aren't any distractions like women. It's not because... Like, do we not understand? But it's okay, but we see the nuances if another person says, if a non-white person says it. Just real weird. Oh, and this is a funny political story. Lori Lightfoot defends ban on protesters on her block, citing her right to safety. The Democratic mayor, this is mayor of Chicago, said her family required heightened security due to the threat she receives on a daily basis. I think that the residents of this city understand. Of course, it freaking changes. It just jumps on my phone. I just want someone to make a website that doesn't jump around and doesn't throw 80% of the screen in ads. Mayor Lightfoot defended the Chicago Police Department banning protesters from the block where she lives, citing her right to safety. Oh, so when it gets too close to your house, you don't want... It says protesters, not rioters. Protesters. You don't want protesters, but then you criticize the white guy with the... And this lady is African American. I'm assuming she's black. I want to say African American. She could be from anywhere and be black. She didn't want protesters on her street. That's interesting. Why not? Because they're dangerous? Oh, just like the guy who stood outside with an assault rifle of his house when protesters came through his gated community? Oh, just like that guy. Oh, we're the same. Oh, you don't want criminals on your street protesting? Oh, okay. Okay, I see. Because you know that protests can turn into riots real quick. You don't want them burning down your house? Oh, okay. Gotcha. Got it. This is weird. If a white person does it, it's racist and terrible. But a black Democrat does it, and it's for safety. It's okay. It's real weird. And just like that kind of shit makes me want to vote for the other side. Whoever it is. And that's infuriating. And then I have to be like mindful enough to be like, okay, those people over there are also idiots. So you're picking between these two evil, they're not, I don't think they're evil, just in general, but these two terrible decisions. It's like you have imagine the worst two girlfriends you've ever had in your life, and you had to choose one of them. And ladies, same thing. Imagine the worst two boyfriends. You had to marry one, or the human population's gone. You imagine? Ugh. Ugh. Here's another interesting political story. China's national security law reaches into Harvard, Princeton classrooms. Professors at the elite U.S. universities turn to code names, warning labels to protect students. So they have to use code words that mean other things to protect students. The effect of the national security law. I'll read the furl. Oh, I can't read the whole article. Damn it, it's on the Wall Street Journal. This is kind of weird. Well, I'll read the first part. The effect of the new national security law that China imposed on Hong Kong is extending far beyond the territory to American college campuses, which is totally fine because I heard a teacher in the United States say the Communist Chinese Party is not a communist party. Classes at some elite universities will carry a warning label this fall. This course may cover material considered politically sensitive by China, and schools are weighing measures to try to shield students and faculty from prosecution by Chinese authorities. They are changing the words that we say here in a different country. That's terrifying to me. There's an article in the Tesla Rat. I don't know how to say that. Let's see. TESLARATI.com. I don't know. I'm too stupid. Elon Musk to unveil Neuralink progress with real-time neuron demonstration this week. If you don't know what Neuralink is, it's an implant in your brain that can make you process, it can have access to limbs that aren't or prosthetics. Say if you have a prosthetic leg or robotic leg or arm, you can use your mind to actually control it, if you will. Hold on, there's some guy talking right now. Okay, I'm back. One of my neighbors was talking. I heard him out. I thought something was going on. Crashed away. Elon Musk's brain-machine interface company Neuralink has an event scheduled for later this week to update the public on its progress since last year's presentation. While the agenda is speculative for the most part, one expectation is a live demonstration of neuron activity. Will shows neurons firing in real time on August 28th. In the Matrix, Elon Musk tweeted at the end of July. So it's coming up. So if you want to see this brain implant that helps us process information quicker, helps us control things that we're not connected to, I want it. I don't want to be the first or second generation. I want the later. I don't want the first iPhone. I don't want the first Droid. I want the upgraded versions. But give me. If you're just smarter and download, you can just be connected to the internet. Then how does it talk to your brain? How does it communicate? I have so many questions. Brett Brown, the coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, was fired. He had 7 years there. He had plenty of time. Let's see. This is interesting. This is from, I think, San Francisco Gate, SF Gate. Smoke from California wildfires is now visible in Kansas. That's insane. Photo taken on July 19th at the Windy Hill Open Space Preserve in San Mateo County shows the dense smoke of wildfires in San Francisco Bay Area. It's a huge plume of smoke coming out of the clouds. Kinda crazy. We got 3 minutes left here. Minnesota, the draft lottery. NBA draft lottery was interesting. My Chicago Bulls moved up to 4. I was very happy with that. All I care about, don't care. And the Golden State Warriors. There's gonna be there's got to be one or two. Maybe one. I don't know. Well, we'll see. This is another interesting by LiveScience.com. Interstellar visitor Oumuamua could still be alien technology, new study hints. So this long cylindrical piece of rock came through our solar system, and people thought it was alien technology because it was accelerating, and things usually don't accelerate, or things don't accelerate unless they're being propelled forward by some kind of mechanism. And so there's they don't know, but there's all these different theories as to why. One, it's alien technology, blah, blah, blah. And the other is it has like hydrogen gas is being exposed, and then that's propelling it forward. So it's this real interesting explanation. The object was propelled by an alien machine such as a light sail, but there's no evidence of that. Wonky acceleration was due to a natural phenomenon. In June, a research team proposed that solid hydrogen, was blasting visibly off the interstellar object's surface and causing it to speed up. So maybe the sunlight interacted with something and then hydrogen was like spewing off of it, and that's what kept it going. There's always these really cool explanation for things that, dumb people like me wouldn't. Like, there's a comet that's accelerating. It has to be aliens. You just jump right to aliens when it's not. Like, I don't understand that. It has to be. It's like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. There's plenty of different reasons. But, yeah, the actor Nina Simone was... Nina Simone actress Zoe Saldana apologized for taking a role because the role that she took was a full black person. She's black and Latina, the actress, and so she apologized for playing a full black person. Whew. I don't know. Maybe I'm just out of my depths here. But if you're black, whatever, you can play a black person. It doesn't. I don't get it. I don't. Maybe it's an ignorant mind, but I don't get it. I understand white people. White people back in the day, they played like Asians and black. They played everything. John Wayne was. It was ridiculous. He was Khan. What is it? One of the Khans. Genghis Khan. And it's like, what? No. We need it. We need an Asian person. We need someone from that heritage, that culture to play those things. But if you're half, just play it. You don't have to be blind to play a blind character. Like what? What? Well, you're only blind in one eye, so we can't. Culturally speaking, like if you can do prosthetics and make her look more like the character, that's not. I don't know if that's racist. It's like the people were a little upset that J-Lo, she's Puerto Rican, was playing Selena, a Mexican singer. And then they saw it and it was like, J-Lo, you did a good job. Good job. We liked it. It's like, I don't know. It's like it's a Spanish heritage. That's not the same thing, obviously. But it's the different part of it. It's a different. You guys both have ancestors from Spain. That's why you guys speak Spanish. Is because the Spanish people came over and raped and pillaged everything back then, way back in the day. And that's a loose history lesson, by the way. Spaniards, that's what they did back then. A big group of them. That's not all what they did. And I'm going to have conquistadors being upset at me. I don't even know if that's people from Spain or not. That's just a word I know from the history books. There's also an interesting from The Guardian. Germans must walk their dogs twice a day, new law will say. German dog owners will soon be ordered by law to walk their pets twice a day. Pets. So if it's a cat, I have to walk a cat. Doesn't make any sense. The country's agricultural minister, Julia, of course it's a woman, said she is introducing the new law based on evidence that many of the nation's 9.5 million dogs are not getting the exercise or stimuli they need. Under the new regulations in the Hunter over, I don't know what that word is, or Dogs Act, owners will not get away with a quick jog around the block, but will be required to take their dogs out on at least 1 hour walks. Said new rules were based on new scientific findings that dogs show the need of sufficient measures of activity and contact with environmental stimuli, including other animals, nature, and people. The tethering of dogs on a chain or a lead for long periods of time also faces an all-out ban. Dogs may not be left alone at home all day, and a person will be required to take care of their dog several times a day. The dogs are not cuddly toys. They have their own needs, which need to be taken into account. A dog, you leave them food, that they eat it. If you leave them a pile of food, they'll eat all the food and then they die. They're not very smart. We're the smart people. Now, if you're abusing your dog, whatever, that's a completely different story. The main question is now, it will be possible to check up on 19% of German households that own dogs. Only 19% of German, they must hate dogs over there. Which, I wonder what the percentage is here in America that own dogs. Which, as pets, are secondary in population only to cats. Spokeswoman for the Agriculture Minister said the authorities in each of the German 16 states will be responsible, but ridicule the regulation. Yeah, voluntary disclosure. I will not be taking for 2 rounds of walks in 32 degree heat Rather, we will jump in the river for a refreshing cool down instead. Barbara, the owner of a 5-year-old Yorkshire Terrier who lives in the... I find it patronizing to be told how long I should take my dog out for and who is going to check up on me. Will the neighbor call the police if they suspect me of not taking Sam for long enough walks? Yeah. It's just this kind of government, and it's funny that it's Germany, controlling just little by little things you do, but it's for the good. It's for good. No, freedom is good. Freedom to do what you want. Who are you to say an hour-long walk? Oh, because you love dogs? What? Different dogs need different... There's certain dogs that can't run for an hour. They need to sit down. They can't even breathe. Like, what are you talking about? There's different types of dogs that need different... Not everything... Anyway, I'm not even gonna get into it because it's the end of the podcast, and I appreciate each and every person who listened to it this week. Yeah, like I said, my name's Chase Carter. You can find me on Instagram at the number 1 Chase Carter 1. I use the number 1 as brackets, obviously. And yeah, you can find me there. If you like the podcast, follow me there. Let me know what you think about it. If it's good, I'll be surprised if you think it's good. If it's terrible, let me know how terrible it is. And thank you. You guys take it easy. I'll see you next week. You got this shit knocking, bro.